Well,
I go by 3 different names: driftwood, wetwood, and wildwood.
anyways, wetwood and what? Look like
Wildwood.
a what?
Wildwood.
Oh my gosh! Did you see my sign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two can play that game. Well, she's even got her dry erase board.
It's funny because I just came up on it, and I'm like, oh, look, it's purple and everything.
Oh, look, I have dry erase board, and I must use it.
Two can play that game. We got great minds think alike. People have no idea how geeky we are, but eventually they will.
And I just thought of that like 2 minutes ago, so there we go.
Well, it just is funny because I had this stuff and I kept saying, where's my dry eraser? Where's my little one? Because I've got bigger ones. But yeah, anyways, we're talking about dry erasers. Anybody just tuning in?
What a great conversation.
just tuning in anyway, but just trying to, I'm just learning a lot, with this Lynnism and who I am and all these things. I know that people take things the wrong way or perceive it a different way, but I wanted to say that for the record,
Well, I'm glad I'm glad the Lynnisms are helping you out. Because they're just your words reiterated. That's all they are.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Oh, so now I get the memo. So here we go. I'm gonna do this in between real. There we go. We're getting real.
So welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here. It's Wednesday. For those of you that are connoisseurs of beer, it's National Beer Day. Yeah. So thanks to all of our loyal listeners and anybody catching the replay. We're glad you're with us for another show.
Oh man, yes, we are. We are excited. This week is talk about pay the price for what you want in life and spirituality.
Here's the baggie so far. I mean, there's blank ones in here, but let me just take out the sheets yet to be written on in terms of words or phrases that are fair game on Friday for our coach and guest Ken Walls, who will be on the show on Friday.
Yeah, so, I hope he doesn't forget. I guess we'll remind him tomorrow night, won't we?
So these are the ones that are blank, but all the other ones are fair game on Friday, so we can always use more. So we're
absolutely
have to dig in over the next couple of days and find some goodies or Lynnisms or who knows what to add.
I think what I do love about us being paired up together and what we do, Brian, is that you and I are always evolving. We're always learning. We're always wanting to learn. We're always trying to understand. We're always trying to be open-minded, being the best humans we can. And that takes, some studying and realizing that, we're not always the problem. They're not always the problem. It's just the matter of where we're at. Scott, thank you for being here. I love when Ken Walls always says, Scott Ricard. Ricard. I like Ricard. How's that?
Looks really Ricard. That looks really weird on video when you...
I'm Hispanic. I could do that.
It's like you can see my tonsils. Great. That's a really appealing view. See my tonsils.
So, but yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about, back in the day. I mean, I grew up Catholic, and then John 3:16, and then I went to a Baptist church. I've gone to a lot of different denominations. Oh, thanks for the hearts, Scott. I appreciate that. And so, and then spirituality was something that, you can't be spiritual, you got to be Christian and all these different things. We all have, it comes down to this whole interpretation of what it means for you as opposed to whatever. And, I guess that's why, I was going to kind of keep on reps, but I'm so transparent. But I found that I'm getting really interested in neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah, that. And NLP.
That.
I'm being a smart ass. NLP.
Right, yeah, what you just said.
Yeah. Anyways, it still doesn't stop me from trying to learn. That's all I'm going to say. But it really comes down to that we all have our own definition for what things mean or labels. And, being that Spanish was my first language and then transposing to English and spending a lot of time in silence trying to figure out how do I translate to this person what I mean. And we touched that a little bit about that yesterday, but it really comes down to, just like when I said, let's talk about manifestation, and you were like about creation. I mean, again, we have our own takes on those, but we are both trying to articulate it for each other's understanding. And then all of a sudden I felt more compelled and comfortable with creating as opposed to manifesting.
Right.
So again, it's just, she made it. Yay, Michelle, welcome.
I had to send Michelle a reminder.
Oh, that's awesome. I love her. I don't know. Am I friends with her yet? I hope I am. If not, I'm going to have to make friends with her.
She's a photographer, so she might be editing or, being with her kids.
Oh, I love it.
Want to get away from her kids. I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. Is she in Wisconsin too?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We grew up, we went to high school together.
Oh, well, you know what? I hope I meet her when I'm there. That would be cool.
We could have a meetup somewhere. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But anyhow, so, when we say spirituality here, it doesn't mean, not Christian, Buddhist or nothing.
That, really.
Yeah, I just wanted to stand that for the record. Yes, editing soccer banners. Oh, sweet. Cool.
Oh, I didn't even know that, so I guessed.
Just sitting quietly and listening, preparing to leave for an hour for my first day. Yeah, well,
way to go, Ray.
Ray, we wish you a great day. Remember, go in there with an open canvas. Remember, go in there with an open heart. Oh, yeah. Just know that you're going to make friends at work. This is a new adventure, a new chapter for you. And, let go of any other inhibitions.
I know you can go wrong with putting other people first and offering that extra band.
Right. And people will be kind because you're new. So just remember that too. So, yep. But as far as spirituality, like I said, I'm really getting interested in the NLP because it's like people have different ways they learn, understand, and that kind of thing. And so, in our show,
Ray. Absolutely.
Yes, you're welcome. So that's why our show, what we love is being raw and real, is that, we can both look at each other and say, well, I looked at it this way, or he looked at it that way. But we try at the end of the day to understand where we're both coming from. And we hope that gives you guys some sense of okay, I didn't think of it the way Lynn and Brian. I've got option number A, B, C, D, whatever. So it's just do you have a pink shirt on today, or is it just kind of? Yeah, and I got red. How cool!
I thought there was something on it, but it's actually the logo of the company. So I'm like, what's that on my shirt?
Maybe because you were eating right before we went on the show. Yeah. I don't know. Is that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. It's not flattering to go live when you got a piece of lettuce on your shirt. What? It's not. Just kidding.
Well, if it happens, it happened to be the first for our show.
Yeah,
we're all down for that.
Oh yeah, it's be like, ooh. Okay, all right, we're back. So when I think of the spirituality or their spiritual component of this is what tugs at your heartstrings, right? What tugs at you to be what is kind of whoever it is or whatever pull has you leading you to wherever you need to be. That's what spirituality is to me regarding paying the price. Where do you always fall? Where's your default? Where do you always go to? What are you curious about? But whatever that consistency is, or wherever you gravitate towards, your heart is open and you're in touch with your heart and your gut. But then it's you might not know why, but you just know that it's man, I embrace that. I feel fulfilled when I go there. You know what I mean? It's less about perhaps having evidence or results and more about, man, I just feel better when I do that, so
Hi, Dennis.
Having that be your guide versus the mental and the physical component. Afternoon, Dennis, is that's where the spiritual, that's what it looks like to me is that my heart and my gut are aligned, but it's how do I feel by doing that? And what's pulling me, forward? Because if it's just about an outcome or a result, that's one thing. But that doesn't mean that you're going to like doing it. And I think that if it's something that you're willing to pay the price for, it should be something that you want to do.
Well,
So when I think of the spiritual nature of paying the price, it tugs at your heartstrings, and it just pulls you, where you need to be.
well, in keeping in respect to what you're saying is, I think we can all agree that we all have a spirit. I mean, I think we can all agree to that.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
we all have little voices in our heads.
Yep.
And like Glenn Morshower said, the whispers, we have that intuition that most of us have put layers and layers of garbage on it, not to listen to it.
Yep.
We have numbed the voices within, and that's where we have a lot of conflict within ourselves. So spirituality and your Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, we forget that we came here whole. We came here with a moral compass. We came here with things that are ingrained, no matter who you're around. I mean, like I was surrounded by so many people that just didn't understand me or know me or whatever. Yeah. And I've learned to just love them where they're at, but also have understood that I was different than them, that they cannot change who the core I am, because I was like, I mean, I'd go stand out with the kids that smoked pot. I didn't touch it. I didn't, inhale. I didn't do any of that. I just hung out with the kids that would drink. I didn't drink. I mean, well, I drank at 8th grade, but when I was in high school, I didn't drink. We talked about that once time in the story.
That's the face I give everybody.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at here is that your core is your core, your spirit. There's things that you just can't pass that line because it's ingrained in you or whatever. But you have that intuition that just, back in the day when I was young, you'd watch those shows where they got the little devil here and the little angel here and, explaining, those kind of things, But the point is what you stir within yourself, I just love that when you're looking for something, whether it's a car or learning or teaching or whatever, it's just amazing that you don't realize. Well, like you buy a car. My daughter bought a yellow car, right? A yellow Jeep.
A yellow
car. Yeah, yellow Jeep. And it's like all of a sudden she sees 2 other yellow Jeeps, and yellow cars. It's just, you attract, a like attracts a like, but it's also what you open yourself up to. And so, like I said, I've experienced a lot of different things. I mean, I know the Bible really well. I like the Bible stories, and all that stuff. So, I mean, we all have non-denominational or common ground in what God is to us. Yeah. And so we're not here splicing that. We're just saying what stirs your spirit, what stirs your soul, and the price you're going to pay if you don't listen to what your spirit wants. Right. You might not pay for it now, but you'll pay for it in the long run with how limited time we have on this earth as well.
I think it's a kind of a collaboration of everything you've ever witnessed in life, the lessons that you've learned, and what becomes second nature, things that you don't do because you learn the hard way. Right.
Yeah.
And for me, a piece of spiritual nature to me is not only nearly dying and, whatever conclusions I created about that. And one of them was like, it was not my time to go. Right. That's one of the conclusions I created for myself, is that, I wasn't called yet. Right. I do believe in a God. I do believe in a higher power. This conversation today is not about religion. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's that my work on this planet wasn't done yet. Right.
Yeah.
And then living on my dad's legacy, right? Who my dad was in the world, the things that he handed down to me throughout, being my dad for years, right? And so, but I feel his presence every day. And it's like, if there's a little tug, right, where, for me, it's like I would, I would be, a lot of nights I'd be up late at night, and I would drive states, from one state to the next without thinking about it. But now, after the experience I had, and I feel my dad on my shoulder, like when I get a little tired, instead of pushing through and run the risk of falling asleep at the wheel, which I've done and nearly took my life, is that he's right there. Now I can't see him, but his spirit is there to be like, Brian, don't push it.
Dude, I got chills. I know he's here. Oh, that's
and
something
so that experience is a combination of what I learned, but also, though, it's like my life is more valuable than getting back tonight, when I'm going to be sleeping anyways. Be safe, right? And there's been several times when I would just sleep for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it is, in the back of my vehicle. Like, not a big deal. Just close it out, shut the motor down for a few hours and get back up and go after it.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
My kids and I know we used to do that. We'd stop at rest stops and fall asleep. But then they'd be like, Mom, wake up now and start riding. I'm like, girls, I really need some sleep. You don't understand. But yeah, man, we've hustled. I mean, with 3 little girls going there, we'd make it a 2,000 mile in 31 hours. 3 little girls, I'd go gas up and they'd go pee and we'd go. I mean, like, they were troopers. They loved traveling. I mean, there was just, but I was like,
that sounds like one of my good friends' dad, where it's like, it's nothing to him to go down to Oklahoma to buy vehicles, because they don't have rust on them, and the climate is different down there. But it's like, if when he stops for gas and you go from full to empty, there is no stops in between. And if you're not in the vehicle by the time that the tank is full and he's got his receipt, he's going to leave you there.
Oh my God.
Literally. And I can see him doing that.
I'd go every 2 hours and stop at half tank, but there's no way I'd go empty. But yeah, wow. Right. But like I said, man, I love that we're talking about, we talk about it as being intuition. We're talking about, how our heart tugs us. The spirit tugs are your mind, your heart, your soul.
I think it's also, and I've touched on this in previous shows, is that it doesn't have to make any sense to anybody else. Mm-hmm. If you feel it in one way or another, it doesn't make a difference how it comes to you. You're willing to pay the price for things that people don't care about, but you don't care because you're not listening to them anyways. Right. Or if they are somebody that you would listen to, they're going to agree with you, or they might not even agree with you, but they know that it's you or it's important to you, so they'll respect that fact, right? It's one thing if they understand. It's another thing if they don't understand it, don't want to understand it, and then make you wrong for it, right? So I think that the spirituality of whatever is that it's something where people give you that, they give you that space because it's important to you, and they see that, right? And it's like a no-fly zone, that they don't, you would never do it to them, so they respect the fact that they won't do it to you.
Right. And again, I like spirituality as far as look at the kindred spirit. Like you and I talked and we were like, it was like, I mean, that's just a primal example. Would you say we had we laughed, we hung out. It was like, we're doing this. Like, we made that decision in, I think, less than a half an hour. Right. We were like, we're in this.
I mean,
we're doing this.
I would have to go back on it, but from not knowing each other to Lynn sending me an email, hey, we're in this course together. We should probably talk. And then you invite me to be on your show, and then all of a sudden it manifests, and our show is created. So, yeah, no turning back. But it's crazy how those pieces fall together, and I wouldn't wish it any other way.
I know, right? It's like I wish everybody could experience that, it's such a gift. It's such, I am blessed to have those relationships with quite a few people, and I'm excited because, I can't explain it to those that don't understand, but spiritually, I know it can be explained. I mean, I know, but everybody, I just love how it just magically, it's incredible when you open your heart to I mean, when I spoke to you, I had no motive whatsoever, nothing. I had no idea how this conversation is going to go. Mm-hmm. And as I'm saying, we should do a show. You're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, this had that recorded because it was that was spiritual, was that not? Like that was just that I can't explain it.
And by the way, everybody, is that we don't, I know that you guys know this if you've followed us for any time, but we don't have a script. The only thing we have is a title. And so what Lynn and I were talking about behind the scenes, you know, and any time that we're backstage, it's the same thing we're talking to you right now about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just bantering. We don't know where it's going to go, what we're going to talk about, what's going to come out of our mouth. We'll try to be tactful and not swear a lot. A lot.
It's not me.
Yeah. No, I'm included in this too.
I think I'm worse than you are, though. I'll admit that.
I'm not naming fingers, or I'm not pointing fingers. You know, I'm not naming fingers. Yeah, that's it. So, but that's the thing, is that behind the scenes, you know, when we're backstage, I'm eating some food and we're just whatever, but it's no different than when we're on stage.
I know. It's just you know, I just wish this for everyone. I wish people would understand that if you go around life and not knowing what to expect from what you do, how amazing life can be.
Absolutely.
You know, and my kids have even learned, like if I say, hey, you know, I think I should bring my purse or this or that, they know, what, Mom, you said that, then there's a reason for everything. And it's like, we don't take note that we should do these different things. Like my daughter told me something yesterday that she did, and I thought it was so cool. She's like, Mom, I was getting ready to go pick up Bailey from gymnastics, and I decided to go to Albertsons, that's a grocery store here, for the second time during the day, Mom. Yeah. And she goes, Mom, I go there and there's this older couple that came walking over from the nursing home. And she goes, and I know I only had 15 minutes, but this couple was like, the lady's like, I'm going home. And he's like, he didn't know if he could make it home. She's like, well, I'm going to get out of my car and I'm going to walk him home. I don't know where I'm going. And I don't know which nursing home, if he's the one that's over here or 2 blocks over. But Mom, she's like, I'm going to call them and the school and tell them, you know, I'll pick up Bailey when I pick her up. And so long story short, she goes, Mom, the lady was like, oh, I'm going. And she goes, Mom, he had like the fall alert thing on. He had all these braces. She goes, I don't even know if he escaped from the nursing home. She goes, Mom, I didn't know. Make a run for it. She goes, except I just knew that he didn't know if he could make it. And I had to walk him home and stuff. And I get him there and he goes, now, you know, she goes, you need to tell my son you helped me. And she's like, no, sir. She goes, I hope to somebody to help my mom someday or something. She goes, no, he goes, no, my son needs to know you helped me and stuff. And then he comes out and tells his name. And I guess his son is like a well-known car owner dealership here or something. But he's like, you tell my son whatever, you know. And she's like, Mom, I didn't care. She goes, I just knew I couldn't let him, you know, be out on the street and nobody caring. Everybody kept going by him and he needed help and nobody was stopping. And so it's a proud mommy moment, you know, that she stopped and she helped him and she didn't care. She goes, but Mom, I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing, but I did it anyways. And I'm glad I went to Albertsons for the second time just to be there for them. Yeah. And so she goes, Mom, if I didn't go there, she goes, I don't know what would have happened to him.
I love those moments because they're so few and far between.
Yeah.
And when those moments do come up, because they're so rare, given how skeptical our society is and how maybe hypocritical our society is at times, is that when somebody actually sees it, that they're, you know, whatever they say is what they're meant to do, instead of it being a ploy or, you know, taking advantage of somebody or, you know, I mean, all of those things that are just unfortunate, right? Yeah. Like if somebody's stealing somebody's purse or whatever, but they make it seem all pleasant and whatnot, and they have ulterior motives, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like to talk about that stuff, but it's a reality.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people feed on those that are, you know, they feed on ones that they feel like they can get away with stuff. You know?
Yeah.
And so to actually have something where somebody's in need, you know, it's such a great thing, because it's like, not only does it fulfill you, but also though it hopefully makes the other person feel that they're valued, or that somebody stood up for them, right?
Yeah, well, I was really, really proud of my daughter. She goes, Mom, she goes, anybody else, they were thinking of them as an old little complaining couple. She goes, and then when I said, come on, let's go, he goes, next thing you know, she goes, Mom, she goes, I gave kudos to that lady. He goes, because she goes, you know what, I'm tired. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm going to go anyways. And then she says, the husband goes, you see, she's so tough. She's leaving without me. She goes, that's okay. I'll walk with you. And I guess they used to own planes. He goes, do you know she crashed a plane once and walked away from that too? I'm like, wow, that's an interesting story. And so, but you know, it was just really cool to see that my daughter would do that. And then she goes, Mom, she goes, don't get upset, but I'm asking, are you a senior citizen yet? And I said, well, you know, at 55, some places you can get a discount, but most of them now, they make you to be like 60 something. So I'm going to say I'm a pre-senior.
Well, on my 40th birthday, my 40th birthday lasted for like a year and a half, because I went to every single restaurant, and every month I said it was my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, wait a minute, how many birthdays have you had this month? Oh, only one. Oh, we've seen you here before. Oh, that was last month. Just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
The one thing that pops out, and I'm writing it down for one of our phrases on Friday, is be the example.
I love it. I love
Be the
it.
example. Okay, yeah. So Michelle, thanks for the contribution. We have a new auto shop in town doing free tows and discounted rates for those that don't make much. So I offered to make them a free banner for their business, as they have no signs. I get where your daughter is coming from. If you can help in any way, do so. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and that's just it. My daughters, when I would go to New York every summer, and it's just bittersweet when I go there now, but every summer I would go ahead and go visit a couple of my friends' parents, because, they were working or they weren't there, and I would go take care of them. I would take them shopping. I would go, help them out, take them for a drive, that kind of thing, and take them to dialysis or whatever, because, I just love elderly people. I mean, I just truly do. So I actually was driving back home once, and my brother's like, you better hurry up and get back here. And I'm like, why? Well, one of the moms I wanted to see, actually, I drove there, hurried my ass to Syracuse, and I actually walked into her funeral, which I was heartbroken, because they didn't tell me while I was on the road that she died, because they didn't want me to be upset about it. But I already kind of was figuring what was going on when he was like, well, you better get your ass here. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my time. And then I'm like, oh, I better not take my time. I literally, I kid you not, I actually got rolled into town after being up so many hours and went to, to one of the mom's funerals. But truly, it's one of those things where I'm just blessed and glad to see that my kids carry that torch. My one daughter, she's a CNA at a nursing home as well. She also does dialysis, but because of COVID, they couldn't allow her to work at both places. They're concerned, but so truly, it's paying things forward. But in our hearts of hearts, I mean, we all don't realize that. You don't realize that what you do for people, how they pay it forward.
Right.
And it really is a good feeling.
Well, and I mean, Michelle, and kudos to you for standing up and doing that. But also, even consider, in the future, I mean, obviously you have to get paid for your expertise and whatnot, but who knows to say the partnership that could come, right?
Absolutely.
Or any marketing or any kind of whatever, graphics or whatever they need from me, but also consider photographs. I mean, just as an idea, if it works at, I'm an idea person. So I just try to share is that for the new business is maybe take some simple shots of their building. Like if they're ever going to do print ads or if they're going to create a Facebook page, they're going to need visuals of their place, right? And their services, right?
Yeah.
So and what are most people going to do? They're going to take photographs of their phone, which are great, but it could be so much more appealing if it's done by a pro. So, I'm not saying donate services. I'm just saying that it's just okay for you to do that for them, what are they going to be willing to do for you later, or what
Well,
that kind of thing. So,
and I love Michelle's heart there too, because
absolutely.
I'm truly like this. I never think of what it's in it for me in anything I do, because when I've done that when I was younger, it's just so egotistical. It's not narcissistic. It's self it's not a good place for me. It's just, I've seen too many people with manipulation and all that stuff. So I really love that when you just do it because you know you could do it, and you know that you're helping pay it forward. She says, I'm also not that type to look for something in return. Absolutely. Yeah, I knew that. I exactly did. Yep. Even if they did anything in return, as far as my business, I'm okay. Yep, absolutely. And that's why I love you already, girl. I love you. But that's exactly what I'm saying is, but I've seen how, I mean, now mind you, I have marketing experience for the last, 6 years and things like that. But I truly have seen people that have gone out of their way to help people, and yet it's mostly they didn't give a shit about helping them at all. They were trying to help themselves.
Right.
And I've seen the ramifications of that. And so I come from I should teach this, but I also come from don't be so, salesy. Don't be so about
don't be at
all this, because it rubs me wrong. So why would I go rub somebody else wrong? Even though the tactics do work, it truly is annoying. And I really feel like you reap what you sow. And I really have seen people's business, catapult at a time. I'll give you a good example. There was one time where by my house here, we only had a Kmart, and then Walmart comes to town. But before Walmart came to the same town I was in or area, you would go to Walmart or Kmart here, and they'd have a 3-pack of Ivory soap. Good example. Hi, Tim. Welcome. I saw your show the other day. It was great. But the example of Kmart, 3 bars of Ivory soap, just an example. At Walmart, across town, you could get it for 88 cents. Over here by my house, it was $1.59. Kind of like, and so, I felt like, this is what you guys get with not being price comparison. I mean, small business, big business, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's got whatever. But what I'm saying is this, when you have the transparency of caring about your neighbors, and we're talking that was how it was for soap and toilet paper. It's like, man, I'll take the journey of my 3 kids and go across town for what I can save,
given, being in the wedding industry almost 30 years and working at my craft, every single one of those years, every day, I look at it a little bit differently because I make resources available to anybody, all the time. I think that to brides and grooms and their family members, it's so unconventional for somebody to actually have materials that they wrote, right? Because obviously the programming that's there, right? If somebody's going to get married, what programming is already there by an experience or something they read or another wedding, and how many of them are great, instead of somebody being high pressure and hounding. So I look at paying it forward. I look at it a little bit differently because,
Brian,
there has been experiences where it's like people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but you see, you bring a lot of value. And that's why your book, that's why even a small, thin layer of your book that comes out will be great, because you're giving people value, something, before you get something in return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it's always value first for me. Absolutely. Without even thinking about it. Absolutely. Nobody's got to ask me for anything. If they want it, it's there. And it's like, and especially when we're in kind of a a nonverbal communication society, that I want to make sure that there's resources that even if people are ready to put in a little bit of engagement, like they don't want to reach out, they don't want to talk to anybody, I still want to have resources that they can use. And if I've never hear from them again, at least hopefully they read it, which I can't force anybody to watch or read anything, but there has been some times in the past where it's like, because of my good heart and whatnot, I've invested a lot of hours into something that never came into fruition. So that's never going to happen again, you know, where I'm going to give people just boundless things, you know, especially when there's plenty of resource. I mean, I put ideas out there every day for people.
But just
right?
remember, garbage in, garbage stays, you know,
Yep.
stays in there too. But now, if you have a resource and you're giving it to them, all you may have lost is a couple pennies on paper, but not your actual energy. Right. And that's what's
time.
awesome.
Well, in the value,
energy is time. Correct. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So now you can.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Lynn.
No, go ahead. Now you can give free giving.
One of the things I think a lot of people, like if they're in a service-based business, that is a little bit maybe misunderstood or not flushed out in terms of the thought process. It's not the hours you put in, it's the value you bring to the hours that you bring. Mm-hmm. Right.
Absolutely.
And so it's like let's say Michelle, for instance, like, okay, she puts 20 hours into editing a project. Okay, well, 20 hours with a novice isn't going to get you very far, but 20 hours to a pro like herself, world's different. But what does Absolutely. She have to do to do that? Right. You know, through her expertise in software programs and her art and her style. So, you know, but I try to keep those at bay. You know, those couple situations where like I was taking for hours of my time. Yeah. And I'll never do that again. You know, so to put plenty of materials out there that are just there for people, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's why it's funny because I have like 3 people that have just said, Lynn, I want you to coach me. And I've taken coaching things before and blah, blah, blah. But I take a lot of responsibility giving people value before I take money exchange. And yet I gave these people plenty and enough value for them to feel like they wanted to give me money. But, you know, I'm taking a level, you know, deeper and I'm learning some more stuff because, again, I want to up my value, you know, to them. So, hey, beautiful Sandy. Nice to see you here. Oh, I got to spend some time with her. I got to message her here sometime soon.
Hey, Sandy, we're kind of backed up for a couple of weeks, but would you be interested in being one of our Friday guests
next month? Next month, because nice. we're all booked this month.
I don't know hopefully. Sandy very well, you know. So I don't think we've ever talked, so it'd be cool to get to know her better.
I know, right?
You know, if she's ready, if she's up to be challenged with a little improv, you know. So.
Yeah, for sure. That would be fantastic. Yeah, we got to keep them all lined up.
You know, another way I look at spirituality, you know, in this context of, you know, is being in touch with yourself is also belief, right?
Yeah.
Is that nobody can force you to believe in anything. It's something that has to go to your core. So, right. You know, just like we had manifestation and creation, I think that you could also look at spirituality as belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in yourself to get that project done? Do you believe in yourself to do whatever the achievement is, whatever the goal is, whatever the commitment is, right? Whatever you're willing to pay the price for, belief is another way to look at it.
And the thing is we have so many. Oh, perfect. She said next month would be really good.
Woohoo!
Yeah. She'd be honored. Awesome. Yeah, I've got to actually let Cheryl know Cheryl is going to be the first week, and I've got to message her and let her know that. No, so she could Sandy, probably be the second week.
We're so happy that you agreed without even knowing what we're going to talk about. So that's even
better. So as far as what I was saying is with our belief system, it's been compromised so much since we were little. And, you know, our belief system really can still mess with our spirituality, though.
Absolutely.
You know, your
100%.
belief, because the thing is if I let Brian compound his beliefs on me and I take those on there, and yet my spirit is saying, I don't really agree with that, you know? So, I mean, you really got to be in tune with when your belief system, you got to say, was that my belief or was that a belief I picked up from surrounding people?
And it was imposed upon me.
And it was imposed
done with a vengeance.
Right.
You know?
So it's very important to know that you need to question your belief system. Is this truly something that your core tells you that this is it, or is it something else? And so like I said about the whole Apple thing, I mean, like, I really come down to truly, I have learned to love my enemies. I have learned to love people, the most difficult people on this planet. But it's because it's just love. I mean, some people would call it Stockholm syndrome. I don't see it that way. I see it as that God says I need to love everybody. And this is a test of how much more am I going to show that at the end of the day, when I'm done thinking about this, I've got to love them. I need to cut out the cancer that I see, and I need to love them as a whole because they need me to love them. Right. Now, it doesn't mean that I need to kiss their ass or be around them all the time. Oh, heck no. But I will send lots of love. Right. I will show love. I will be there. And, you know, it's so erosion.
Yes, we have had erosion of the soul sometimes. Yes,
absolutely, Sandy. And that's what I'm saying is, you know, the erosion. And I'm going to bring this up again. The erosion, you see, it's just like an apple here.
Remember, even a bad apple has a good part.
Yeah. Yep. And that's truly.
And then for those of you that haven't seen this graphic, Lynn created a couple days ago when we brought it up, I think it was. But can you pop that back up there, Lynn?
Yes.
That she pointed out, you know, right on the bottom, that apple that's closest to you or on your screen, you see where it's rotten. So yeah, just a little bit more symbolism to get the point across that no matter how much decay and erosion is going on within that apple, there's still a little piece that you can find. And then
you get whatever you think
this
about.
Morning, right? Or
yesterday. Mm-hmm.
Yesterday. You get whatever you think about, change your focus to get the results you desire. Yep.
So it's just important to say that at the end of the day, we need to love everybody. Your boundaries. That's right.
Amen.
Yeah, we need to love everybody, because turn things around. You could have been the angry one. You could have not known what people are coming through. Exactly. You need to have the compassion to realize that until you can control your anger, and I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Latina, I could tell you, I had such an anger problem that when I wasn't at my dad's house and I stayed at a friend's house, I would take their dishes and I would throw them. Well, she allowed me to too, but I would throw them against the wall and just bash with, you know, yeah. I mean, I was just a very ugly and angry person, and it just didn't, you know. But one bad apple reflects onto the others. It's around as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, it takes a good apple to not let that rotten one spoil them.
Well, and that can be, depending on the situation, Michelle, that could taint a whole family, a whole group of people, a whole community, all of it just based on somebody not willing to separate, number one, the story about whatever it is, but number two is that it's like, you know, they're independent of one another, right? That's one person, a whole body of people, you know. So
what is this other one?
Yeah, you are the spark. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you know, it just, and our spirit is a spark, you know.
Yeah.
And depending, I guess, put that on there. Your spark. Surround yourself with kindling spirits to help ignite the fire within you.
Yeah.
And that's again.
I mean, for me, you and Jerry are in that, like igniters, right?
Yeah.
They have a presence and a relatedness and a love that they see blind spots. They expose you to those blind spots in a firm yet helpful way, and then they back up and you do what you do with what they say, with their input. Well, they're not going to shove it down your throat. They're not going to force you to, because it's not their position to do that.
No. And again, that's why I've got people throwing money for me to coach them, but I also want to give more value than just that. Thank you. These are original Lynn quotes.
Yeah.
And we're going to start throwing Brian's original quotes here soon too.
Lynnisms.
Yeah, philosophies. You know, I mean, you're talking, I'm a kid that went from Long Island from Long Island to Syracuse, New York, and I went to a different elementary school there, and then I went to 3 different middle schools, and they funneled into 2 different schools, and 3 different parts of the town. And it truly, let me tell you, I stuck out with a sore thumb with my accent. They knew that I wasn't just a new girl in school, but I wasn't even from like the town. Right. It just, I just learned to have to just love and live and get by. And I look at all these experiences as good ones now, because in 6th grade, that was the fundamental foundation of a Canadian teacher telling me that I would not amount to anything. And he used me as an example on the board. And he used a few other people on the board too, but everybody's pretty successful. But the point is that I realize that those are blessings for me now, because I can see that, they tried to make me tough, going, look, you're Puerto Rican. You got an accent like Rosie Perez. You got a lot of things against you, girlfriend. I mean, you got a lot of things against you. And all they ever tried to do was to make me tougher. But I'll tell you what, when I left that 6th grade, I was called Eileen in 6th grade. But when I left there, after the humiliation of the teacher putting me in front and all the stuff, I went there, and I went to middle school across town. I changed my name to Lynn. I just was like, this is a new change my name to Lynn. Well, then what happened? That was 7th grade. But then what happened is, after that school, I ended up going to 8th grade. Well, guess who was in 8th grade? All my friends that were in my 6th grade, okay, went to the same middle school. So when I went to that middle school, I knew kids because I went to school. Except the weird thing was I was being called Lynn, and they're like, no, you're Eileen. Nope, I'm Lynn. Just because they knew how I was treated in school. So they're like, okay, if you want to be called Lynn, we'll just call you Lynn. But then what the funny thing is after 8th grade, I ended up moving at another end of town and went to another different middle school. So when I went to that school, the 8th grade and 9th grade funneled into the same high school. So what's funny is, by the time high school came, there's some that knew me as Eileen and some that knew me as Lynn. They're like, who are we talking about? And they're like, well, she's Lynn Serrano. So the thing was, it's like, and I was accepted by every group because I didn't banter or talk about this group to that group or this and that. I just learned to love everybody. I mean, and that was my survival. That was a survival, but it kept me peaceful. I loved it because I was an introvert anyways. So I just loved, like, hi, how you doing? I could be friendly, but I could walk away. And that served me. So I was into bodybuilding. I was into riding my bike. I was into, volleyball and soccer and baseball or softball. I did all the sports, but, I was just very competitive within myself. And that's how I survived.
I think too is that this is day number 3 of this week, and something was made very clear to me just by what you were saying, like with a visual, where it's just like you carve out your path, right? And like, let's say that you're within the road, right? You're not on the shoulder, and anything that would challenge you to not be willing to pay the price, right, bounces off. You know what I mean? Because you've determined by the discipline, the hard work, and a choice and a belief repeated over and over again and reinforced, right? That you're going to love people. And so when I'm thinking about this, it's like, okay, the road is you're going to love people, right? When you go on the shoulder of the road and maybe in the ditch, those are going to be those forces that are going to try to disrupt that, right? Yep. But you're not having it because that's firm. You know what I mean? You're putting your stake in the ground. It's there in concrete, but this is what you're taking a stand for.
What, and it's funny.
Spirituality is this. You're going to love people this way.
And it's funny you say that, because what happened also is that I didn't speak up of my sexual abuse or anything till I was 41, but I didn't speak up when I was younger neither, because, there was this thing where, if girls were the ones that, gave it up when you were in middle school or something, they had bad names, they were called, they were chastised. If you said anything happened to you, then, other people would try to attack you and just different things like that. Right. So I was like, you're judging these girls, you're chastising these girls like they are, sluts and all these different things that they would give these people. And it's like, you don't even understand that I've been abused. I can understand what they went through. You're judging them. And yet you don't even know that I'm one of them that have been abused as well. And they're like, a lot of people didn't know I was Puerto Rican. I'm like, you're judging the Puerto Ricans. You don't even know I'm that. You don't even know I got, relatives that are half black. Like all these different things. I'm like, you just don't know who you're talking to. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to love you anyways, because you obviously don't know. And that's why being an introvert, and that's why like face reading and stuff, I've learned, like, I've had secrets that I kept for a long time because I already saw how people were judging everybody else. We'd have some damn good politicians out there, people, if people didn't take people and break people down every freaking time. And that's bullshit. I don't like when somebody breaks somebody else down for, you are not what you did. You are not what actions you did. You may have been pissed off and said something you truly regret, but you're not that person. I mean, there's just too much judgment in the world. We are just spirits love, and we should know that out of the heat of the moment, or not being educated, or not having the knowledge, you didn't know how to behave. You didn't have the right manners for the right settings, but you shouldn't be held. That shouldn't be held against you. You should still have the opportunity to be loved by who you are and not by what people assume.
Well,
what
it comes down to is, it comes down to a perception of something or somebody other than yourself that's imposing something upon you, and your belief, and inundated by believing that, versus putting your stake in the ground and saying, okay, this is coming at me in terms of, here's something for me to consider, but I'm firm in what I believe, and I'm going to disregard that.
Right.
And so thank you for sharing. I'm going to move that aside.
Right. And that's why I love people regardless, because I'm at fault too. I don't know everything, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to profess to, but I'm also going to realize that we are all ignorant, whether that was back in the day. But back in the day, if you call somebody ignorant, you're calling them stupid, but that's their interpretation. Again, everything is a matter of perception and interpretation. And the 100%. Fact is that if we can continuously, come on, movies are all about that. I mean, like, life is all about that. If we can strip all the fact that, well, I don't really know how or what topic you're talking about here, Brian, but can we figure it out together what we mean by that? And, the world would be such a more peaceful place, a much more loving place if we just say, okay, I got to love Brian. You're not going to have that friction. But if you say, okay, let me find out who Brian is.
Well, I mean, even leaving it open to being like, there was something that I didn't agree with or whatever, and instead of being like automatically, the minute it's perceived, is Sandy says, we all don't know what we don't know. So that's right. Absolutely.
Amen, sister. That's exactly what I preach as much as I can.
We 100%, Sandy. You hit, boom. Fist pump to you. Is that the minute that it comes through the brain and we process it, that this person's wrong, or I don't agree with them, or I don't understand that, it can go one of two ways. We go bury the needle, right? That person's wrong, and they chastise them. Or wait a minute, I wonder what makes that person think that way, right? Help me understand this. And then you interact with that person, you engage with them, versus like, oh, that person's really different, or they got radical views. It's like, if you had views, like, let's just say hypothetically, it was something from birth in a different country, right? I don't care who you are, but if something comes from birth, that's not going to be easy to change.
Right.
You know, if your society preaches it, it's the only way of life, and you come to a different country and somebody hasn't had that experience, that is not fair to that other person at all. You know,
No, it's just
because the
like,
person can only come from their point of view, but they're not even willing to take or to consider, like, opening up a little non-judgment area in their mind to be like, okay, where can I bridge the gap between my view and their view without any judgment, without any distaste
right.
for somebody, you know?
Well, and it's just like my daughter. I guess I'm really blessed. I mean, my daughter's, she has some anxiety and depression and things like that, and has been through some traumatic things in her life. But we've been able to actually talk about some of those things and see it from her perception and my perception, because we're both part of the
Yep.
situation, but from two different angles. But there's sometimes it takes the child has a right to say, this is how I seen it. And then the
Yep.
parent, because as parents, we don't share with our children the whole picture. We don't try to compound pain and suffering to our children, so we omit things. And yet they don't understand till they're an adult, and things like that. And so, there's so much in life of miscommunication that I want to start being part of the solution with the big, huge problem that we have in this world. And to know, and I love this whole real and raw, Brian, because I think if anything, your side and my side and our viewer side, that we've really, I hope that we continue to stir things within them to actually have open minds and to see, what we're trying to stir within their spirit, to let them actually question and explore for themselves.
Well, there's two words that this comes down to: suspend disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Don't automatically. It's one thing to meet somebody and to stop yourself to inquire more, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Of why that help me understand further.
Ask
Right?
good questions.
Something that yeah, or just be inquisitive, just be intrigued by it,
Right.
but not just like, boom, done. That person is indifferent than me, and I'm going to do everything to either ridicule them or I'm going to plea them into submission. You know what I mean? And that's where it gets wrong, because that person's not trying to win you to their view. They don't, so why would you feel the need to be like, and that's where it's okay to disagree, right?
Yeah.
But when anybody, I was raised in full transparency. I was raised to never talk about politics and religion. That's what I was raised to never talk about, because everybody has their own for their own reasons. It's a no-fly zone, right?
Yeah.
That's how I was raised. So anytime things like that come up, I immediately remove myself from the situation. If anything, I'll ask them what those beliefs have done for them, right? Something so I can understand and I can be a sponge. Not something where it's just like, well, I don't like that, so I'm going to do everything I can to try to win you to my point of view.
Yeah,
that's a disservice to everybody in the world.
Absolutely. It's having a closed mind
to everybody in the world, because that person's not trying to do it to you, so why would you have to do it to them?
Yeah.
It's almost like some people are unaccepting of anybody else other than themselves, and it's like, well, wait a minute, that's boring.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, and we get together and time just flies by. But truly, let's see.
What did Ray have to say? What did Ray say?
Yeah, Ray said great content. Thank you guys. You're welcome, Ray.
Oh yeah.
And then,
thank you, Ray.
Definitely bring the light.
Ray,
great show you make
today on your first day at your new career.
Oh.
You definitely bring the light. Great show. You make us feel like you were talking. Oh wow. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you.
Our mission is accomplished today. It just Brian and I are just givers, and we just
I'm glad I wore my pink
right.
shirt.
we're givers, and we're just blessed that you guys we're just humbled by it. I sometimes I think I'm just speechless, and I love that Brian usually is the one to thank us upon us, because it's like I'm I'm not good at, I don't know. It's hard, but it's just knowing you guys interact with us and that you're here.
Oh yeah.
And that we're making an impact, and you love seeing us being goofy and silly. It really is. My heart is just happy every day that I know I get to spend time with Brian and that we get to be like this. It's such a gift to me. So, anyhow, we're getting mushy here. We gotta go, dude. What's Tim say?
We all have opinions. We all have grown through our own stuff. Love that you have a view. Yeah. Tim, to take us out of the show today is that I love when somebody shows up to some degree, like especially like somebody I don't know, is like when they say, hey, I get, I'm a big bag of mess, right? I'm a mess. We all have our stuff, right? When somebody shows up that way, I automatically know that they're being real. Oh yeah, just love the goofy, silly, and just being yourself. Gotta know about the lip. Oh yeah.
Okay. It's time to leave now. Thanks, Michelle.
Hey, you can't let her hang like that. Okay. So how about on Friday, Michelle? I think you have already communicated you'll be with us on Friday. How about we get into that on Friday if you're able to join us at same time, same channel on Friday? Does that work for you? We will get into lip lock in 3 different ways because there will be 3 of us on the show. If you're up for that, no. She wants it now.
Okay, I'll message you, okay, girlfriend?
No, so Lynn, just give us I've been waiting patiently. Okay, so Lynn, in just a few seconds, tell Michelle and recap for all of us lip lock.
Michelle, my first boyfriend, I was 12 years old. And then long story short, I met him 6th grade. So then long story short, I saw him my senior year, and he didn't have a locker. And so I shared my locker with him. Every morning, we would hug and kiss every morning. He'd go his way, I'd go my way. So anyways, he lives in Florida. I'm going to go see my dad. And on the show that one day, I said, I can't wait to see him, to go lip lock again with him. So that's where that came.
This actual gentleman named Scott actually showed up on the show. So
yeah, and I said, I'm gonna lip lock with him. Yeah, so and then I called him and said, I'm sorry I said that on the show.
In this bag right here, there is a couple of them that are reoccurring every week, and you better believe that lip lock is one of those words. Yes, that's fine. I think.
Oh my God!
Looking forward to some lip lock. It's been
But you guys, that also has a bad connotation. So can we just finish the show? We're past the time now.
See, right there, everybody, we got Lynn smiling and blushing just like the color of her sweater. So we did well today.
Okay, you guys. Gotta go.
We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh.